Hi there, today I'm going to explain a thriller and psychological thriller film, The Quiet. Released in the year 2005. Let's get started. One of our protagonists, walks the halls of the school while reflecting on her incredible feelings of loneliness. At lunchtime, she sees how her stepsister Nina, the most popular girl in school, makes fun of her in front of her best friend. Embarrassed and melancholy, locks herself in the school bathroom until Nina angrily comes looking for her, telling her that she was expected to go home. Back at home, Olivia, Nina's mother, exhorts the girls for being so cruel to just because she is deaf and dumb, but is only ignored by the teenage girls. Paul, Nina and Dot's father, was buying medicine for his wife until he is interrupted by the school counselor, who confesses to the man that she is very concerned about Dot's tendency to be alone. Upon returning home, Paul is shocked by the news Nina gives him. His wife is passed out in the living room. When he leaves, she tries to convince Dot to have them both try Olivia's pills, but Dot just ignores her and Nina does it anyway. Paul goes to find his wife in the living room and she tells him she just passed out from all the work. He takes her in his arms and carries her to her room. Once there, they begin to have a brief discussion and it becomes clear that their relationship is not the best. In fact, it feels like they are a little frustrated about their love life. After dinner, Paul tries to make Dot feel at home, but Nina sullenly interrupts by telling her father that she's spending the night at her friend Michelle's house. The next day, in science class, Dot is put in the same group as Connor, one of the cute boys at school. That's why Michelle complains about it to Nina at lunchtime and then tells her that she must lose her V card before the end of the year, but she just ignores her as she sees that Dot is socializing with a woman who can speak sign language. Later Dot infiltrates the music room and plays the piano passionately, but doesn't notice Connor passing by in the hallway and watches her from outside in admiration. On leaving the place she meets Nina in the bathroom and Nina paints her lips as if she were the Joker. At night, before going to sleep, Dot remembers the tragic accident her father had and thinks about how sad her life is since he died and she has to endure living with Nina. The next night, Nina tells her parents that she will again spend the night with her friend Michelle. At first, Paul says no, but his mother shows no interest in his authority and Nina takes the opportunity to put him in checkmate by provocatively touching his leg, so she leaves the place seconds later. This causes the couple to argue and Paul storms out of the kitchen. Dot comes over to listen to Olivia, who tells her about the day she met her mother, then shows her a picture of when they were young. Later, Dot shows Olivia a note and lets her know that she wants to go to the movies, but Paul shows up and offers to take her. The ride to the venue is a bit awkward and Dot doesn't make eye contact with Paul. Arriving at the movie theater, Dot sits in the back rows of the theater and immediately notices that Nina and her gang are also in the place. Michelle asks Nina to give up her spot so she can stand next to Connor and try to play with him while the lights are out. But again he shows interest in Dot and tries to convince the group to invite her to sit with them, but they all ignore him. At that point, one of the girls scoffs because she can't imagine a life without being able to speak or hear, but Nina explains to them that Dot didn't have that problem as a child and that her condition changed when she was 7 years old. Back at home, while trying to sleep, Dot is surprised by Paul in her room. She pretends to be asleep and the man sits on her bed, trying to unburden himself and saying that the secret he keeps inside him is killing him day after day. The next day Nina has lunch with her gang and they organize a day alone between the four of them, but Nina is very reluctant to do this and has a small argument with Michelle as a result. Upon returning home, Nina hears Dot playing the piano in a virtuosic way and hears her vocalizing to try to find the right note. It is in this way that she feels a connection with Dot and the next day at school she comes to eat lunch with her, confessing to her that she is snoo with her father and hates him, even confessing to him that she will try to carry out a plan to kill him that very night. To de-stress from the situation, Dot goes to the music room and starts playing the piano until Connor hears her and tries to bond with her, but Dot hands him the science class report and leaves immediately. The family talks about their day while eating dinner, but Nina hears the doorbell ring and goes to answer it thinking it's Michelle, but is surprised to find Connor at the door. He tells her he's just coming to see Dot about the science project and she lets him in. Connor introduces himself to the family and explains that he must go to the library with Dot to continue his project, but at that moment someone knocks on the door and it is Nina again who goes to answer it. Dot sees that the person at the door is Michelle, and she is delivering a package to Nina. She thinks it is the gun Nina had mentioned and leaves the scene with Connor. Dot and Connor have a date of sorts at a restaurant, but she can barely concentrate on what is going on because she keeps thinking about Nina wanting to kill Paul. Returning home, she goes through Nina's purse but only finds some movies. She walks down the hallway and hears Nina and her father doing a northern act, so she purposely breaks a vase to interrupt them. Nina comes out and can see the complicity on Dot's face. Later, while Nina is crying in her room, Dot enters and comforts her stepsister. While ironing her cheerleading uniform and getting ready for school, Nina shows her dissatisfaction with her body and asks Dot if she looks fat, but she repeatedly replies that she doesn't think her body is overweight, so Nina stops pressing the issue. Later, Nina confesses to Dot that she will re-execute her plan to take down her dad on that night. She goes to watch her school's basketball game at night and sees that Connor is very unmotivated. When the game is over, the two meet in the hallway and go to the pool, where Connor goes much deeper about his feelings and Dot begins to seduce him while constantly looking at the clock. At the same time, Nina arrives home and her father is waiting for her in the kitchen to give her an expensive gift bag. But then he starts seducing her and she goes to her room to get ready. Simultaneously, Dot has her first snoo encounter with Connor and they both end up exhausted. She sees the midnight clock and immediately goes home. She arrives just in time to interrupt what Nina was about to do, burn her father's face with the iron. To throw her father out of the room, Nina tells him that she is pregnant and will need $1,000 to have a termination. He breaks down at this news and promises to give her the money the next day. Dot hides in her room so as not to be discovered by Paul, but before going to sleep, she is surprised by Nina, who spends the night with her. While waiting for lunch food at school, Dot is overtaken by Connor, who asks her to the evening dance. She uses the cook as her translator and tells him she won't go with him, but Connor continues to insist regardless. Later that night, Nina goes to Dot's room and encourages her to attend the dance, even lending her a dress and offering to do her makeup to make her look better. After Nina paints her lips, Dot goes to the bathroom and both girls look in the mirror. Nina asks her about the huge secret Dot keeps and they both look at each other knowingly. Paul discovers that Nina keeps a pair of tampons in her purse, so he goes upstairs in search of answers. She dodges his questions and tries to dissemble, but begins to notice that her father is starting to become increasingly hostile with questions and notices that he is just manipulating her. Almost immediately he gets out of control and begins to treat her very violently, telling her that he almost couldn't sleep at night since he believed the pregnancy lie. Paul throws Nina on the bed and continues to yell at her until he begins to undress to abuse her. At the same time, Dot plays Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata on the piano, but rips off one of the strings of the instrument and runs up the stairs. She grabs Paul from behind as he continues to rape Nina and begins to desperately choke him while screaming all the hatred she felt every time she saw him. Nina begins to mourn her father's death and insults Dot for what she did, but Olivia appears on the scene and shocked by everything she just witnessed tells Dot that at least everyone knows that she is capable of talking after all. At that moment Michelle knocks on the door and the girls run off to attend to her. They pack the evidence in a backpack and leave for the dance. When they arrive, Michelle asks Nina about her state of mind, but Nina manages to trick her by saying she tried some pills. Connor goes to Dot and asks her to dance. Dot leaves the backpack on a seat and begins to dance with her romantic interest, but without letting go of her concern for the backpack. At one point, Nina walks by and Dot points out that she should take the backpack so they can both leave together to get rid of the evidence. That's when Dot leaves the dance and Connor chases her into the hallway, where she reveals to him that she is able to talk and hear perfectly. So Connor is heartbroken and very angry because he told her all his intimacies and the things that embarrassed him the most, believing that she didn't listen to anything he told her. Dot tries to explain to him the reason for all this, but he storms off, so Dot goes to find Nina. They meet in the parking lot and go into a forest to get rid of all incriminating evidence. They dig a deep hole on the banks of the river and bury the sheets and piano wire, promising to spend the rest of their lives together. Nina asks Dot what was the reason she killed Paul, whereupon Dot replies that she was aware that Nina would never have dared to do it. Upon returning home, they find that the police were outside the house and that Olivia was being arrested as she took full blame for the crime. She asks the officer for a minute to say goodbye to her daughter and leaves in tears. Over the finale, Dot and Nina share their strange new life in the house, playing the piano. As Dot reflects on her secrets, the film ends. The end. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and click the bell icon to get new movie recaps.